Hey adventurers, so today is going to be another book review. This is going to be for Outcast of Redwall by Brian Jacques. This is of course a high fantasy and an anthropomorphic fantasy and an adventure and just whole lots of genres that it fits into as well. Yeah, so let's get into this one real quick. Outcast of Redwall is one of the books in the Redwall series, obviously. This is one that I've long considered to be one of my top 5 or maybe even top 3 books in the series for me, so I was excited to get to reread it. It's been several years since I reread it. I don't know, more than 5 probably. This one actually takes place fairly early in the Redwall timeline. One of the main characters is Sunflash the Mace, who is the son of Bella of Brocktree, who is the daughter of Bor the Fighter. So it's basically one of the earliest books in the series, but also one of the earliest characters. Basically, this is happening shortly after the events of Martin the Warrior, Mossflower, and Legend of Luke. So it's basically the next book in timeline-wise after this one, I believe. I'm not positive about that. I haven't finished rereading everything yet, but I think that it's one of the earliest. I know that it's one of the earliest, and it might be like number 4 in timeline order, something like that. Not really, because there's Lord Brocktree exists. Lord Brocktree takes place before Martin the Warrior. So anyways, let's continue. Before I get into the rest of this review though, I'd just quickly like to say if you're liking what you're seeing from an Erudite adventure, we'd really appreciate it if you'd like, comment, and subscribe. So this story begins by following the story of a young enslaved Sunflash and his escape with the help of his friend Scarlath, who is a kestrel, I believe. This serves as an introduction to both the heroes, our 2 primary heroes of this story, as well as the villains of this story, and it sets up their conflicts. Sunflash is enslaved to the character called, what's his name? Swarth Sixclaw, I think, something like that is his name, and it's continues. That's the villain of this story, and that's where this whole. It's kind of how everything. How do I say this? It sets up the conflict. So I'll say it like that. I think maybe I'll talk more about that in a second here, maybe. So Jacques does something different with this book though, in that the first half, it's a little over half, maybe the first 2/3, not quite though, of the book follows this timeline with a young Sunflash and then a Swart Sixclaw and their oaths of revenge against each other. And slowly Sunflash is making his way towards Salamandastron and his destiny. Salamandastron is kind of the destiny for all badgers. Whether or not your destiny is to be the next Badger Lord or not isn't what's important. That's kind of the start of their journey in many ways is Salamandastron. Once they get to Salamandastron, then they can start understanding what their destiny is. Then in the second half of this story though, the focus switches from Sunflash and Swart to the Redwallers, and specifically the story of Vale, one of the few characters in the entire series who could be considered a gray character, morally gray. His story is one of nature versus nurture and how he decides to live his life, and it's very well done in my opinion. A little bit heavy-handed, a little bit of he's vermin so he's gonna be vermin, but not really. It seems like that's the way that he's going with it, with the story until the end, and then there's some things at the end that make you not, I won't say rethink what you know about the story, but a little bit of recontextualization of events and seeing events in a truer light, I guess. People use time jumps fairly often in stories, and I think this might be the only one, or the only major time jump, the only time jump that's a major amount of time other than like prologue, between like prologues and story and stuff like that, but one that's a actual significant amount of time that Brian Jacques uses in this series. It's a different format than normal for him. Normally he's very linear, one event right after another, and there's not a whole bunch of time jumps. So it's a different format than normal for him, but it's done in such a way that not only does it fit the story, but it keeps the flow and the pacing of the story perfectly as well. Overall, I was just super happy to have reread this book, and it definitely still is in the top ranking for the Redwall books. Very enjoyable, and as always, it's great to see Jacques trying and succeeding at telling a story in a differently than he normally does. And as always, it's great to be back in Mossflower Woods. I will eventually, once I have completed my reread of the series and read the 2 books that I've never read, I will do a ranking of this entire series and see where everything falls for sure. I suspect Outcast will probably still be near the top. So that is my review for Outcast of Redwall by Brian Jacques. Thank you guys for watching an Erudite adventure. We post these every Monday and Thursday, and for the next couple of weeks, Saturdays as well. We'll see you guys again soon. Stay warm.